Welcome to 10-Minute History, where I believe history should be short but never forgot. I'm your host, Antonio Milian. Today, we're telling the story of Lloyd Gaines, a man who stood at the center of one of the most pivotal civil rights cases in American history, and then mysteriously vanished. His life, his legacy, and his disappearance all remind us that the path to justice has always been paved by brave individuals who often paid a price far beyond what we ever hear about in textbooks. Lloyd Lionel Gaines was born in 1911 in Water Valley, Mississippi, a small town deeply entrenched in the Jim Crow South. Life was hard for African-American families at the time, and the Gaines family was no different. They faced the everyday struggle of poverty, racism, and limited opportunities. Seeking better conditions, the family moved to St. Louis, Missouri, where Lloyd's academic talents began to shine. Lloyd excelled in school, earning honors throughout his education and becoming valedictorian of his high school class. He went on to attend Lincoln University, an all-black institution in Jefferson City, Missouri, graduating with a degree in history. But his ambitions didn't stop there. Lloyd wanted to practice law, and not just anywhere. He wanted to practice in Missouri, his home state, where he could make a difference. In 1935, he applied to the University of Missouri Law School. His academic credentials were impeccable, and he met every requirement for admission, except in the eyes of the institution. His race, the university denied him admission solely because he was black. At the time, Missouri did not have a separate law school for African Americans, so they offered to pay for Gaines to go to school in Kansas or Iowa. But Gaines refused. Why should he have to leave his home state for an equal education? Why should he be exiled from a publicly funded institution his tax dollars paid for? That question would soon be asked in front of the entire nation. Gaines teamed up with the NAACP, who saw his case as a strategic opportunity to challenge the constitutionality of separate but equal. Charles Hamilton Houston, known as the man who killed Jim Crow, took charge of the legal strategy, working arm in arm with a young Thurgood Marshall, who would later become the first black Supreme Court justice. The NAACP team understood that taking on graduate and professional schools, where the disparities were even more obvious, was a smart way to dismantle segregation incrementally. Gaines's case became their first major strike. The case was officially titled Missouri Gaines versus Canada, with Canada referring to SW Canada, the university's registrar. The crux of the case was whether Missouri could meet its constitutional obligation by paying for black students to go out of state instead of integrating their public institution. The NAACP's argument was clear. Missouri had a law school. The law school was for white students only. If the state offered that opportunity to one group, it had to offer it to all. The Supreme Court agreed. In a 6-2 decision in 1938, the court ruled that Missouri's offer to pay for out-of-state tuition was insufficient. The state either had to admit Gaines or create an equal law school for black students within its own borders. While the ruling didn't outlaw segregation outright, it was a monumental shift. It redefined what equal protection meant and forced states to begin confronting the legal frictions that upheld Jim Crow. The victory was more than just symbolic. It forced states to either integrate or pour massive funds into duplicating institutions, which was often politically and financially unfeasible. Gaines's case became the foundation for a later challenge to educational segregation, including Sweat Painter in 1950 and Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. But even as the legal battle was won, Lloyd Gaines was fighting another one, a quieter, more personal one. In March 1939, just months after the Supreme Court decision, Lloyd Gaines disappeared. He had been living in a boarding house in Chicago and told his roommate he was stepping out to buy stamps. He never came back, and no one ever saw him again. His belongings were untouched, his laundry was freshly folded, his suitcase was packed, but Lloyd was nowhere to be found. Theories abounded. Some believed Gaines was murdered, targeted by white supremacists enraged by the court's ruling. Others believed he may have taken his own life, overwhelmed by the stress and loneliness of being a symbol rather than a man. Still, others think he may have fled to another country, perhaps Mexico, to escape the mounting pressure. The pressure on Gaines was immense. He was not just a student pursuing a higher education. He had become the face of a nation's legal battle. The NAACP had made him the poster child of a movement, and publicly, scrutiny followed him everywhere. He received threatening letters, endured public criticism, responsible for changing the course of America's civil rights laws. There were reports that he felt isolated and even depressed. Some accounts suggest that he had expressed frustration with the AP, feeling like he was being used as a symbol rather than supported as a person. Other reports speculated that he may have taken a job under an alias or traveled abroad to escape the spotlight entirely. Rumors circulated for decades. There were allegedly sightings of Gaines in Mexico City. A woman claimed to have received a letter signed by him years later, but none of these leads were ever confirmed. His family clung to hope for years, but eventually had to accept that he may never show his face again, and no one would ever know what happened to him. The NAACP conducted several investigations. So did private detectives, but no definitive trail ever emerged. Gaines' disappearance remained one of the most haunting mysteries in civil rights history. A young man who changed law and then vanished into history, leaving behind more questions than answers. Lloyd Gaines was only 27 years old when he disappeared. He never got to attend the law school that he fought to integrate. He never became the lawyer he dreamed of being. But his courage reshaped the civil rights landscape in ways few have ever done. His case showed that legal change could be achieved strategically, incrementally, and with precision. It showed that individuals, even without titles or fame, could bend the arc of history. And yet, the mystery surrounding the disappearance serves as a stark reminder that fighting for justice often comes with personal sacrifice. And that's our episode for today. My name is Antonio Milian, and this is Minute History, because we believe that history should be short, but never forgotten. Take care of yourselves and each other.